What is up? Welcome back to the Molkef channel. Today we are going to be looking at modular assets, making them in Blender and importing them into Unreal Engine. I've had a few people ask me now on Reddit, how do I make the assets or how have I made the assets? So I said I would do a really quick video just to show you what I've done, how you can do it, and then how you can bring them into Unreal Engine, how they work, etc. So let's dive right in. So this is Blender. I'm just going to quickly show you the settings that I have because sometimes I know when I started out in Blender, there was a couple of bits that I didn't know. This is in the actual game file that I am working on, and these are the actual modular assets we're going to be making. So first and foremost, your game or your screen in Blender may look like this, which is like a perspective view. This is really, really difficult to model in. If you look here, I don't have a grid to follow at the back. And so just to set up your scene to make sure everything works really, really well, the best thing you can do is if you go over here on the right-hand side, you will see this little like checker box. And if you press that, it changes the view to more like an isometric view. And what this allows us to do is allow us to see the grid whilst we're working, and it is nearly essential for scale modeling. To toggle different views, again, I don't know, some of you might know this already, some of you might not, so I said I'll just real quick overview. You can press the, I think it's on my keyboard, is the button to the left-hand side of the one. I actually don't know what the button is called. I think you can do it with, what else can you do? You can change it. I'll show you here. My keypad doesn't work on my keyboard, but you can press 7, 8, 9, 6, 3, 2, 1, 4, whichever you want there, and that will change the view that you're going to be looking at. So you can press it on your numpad. So 7 on your numpad brings up this front view, 8 brings up the top, 9 brings up the back, 2 brings down the bottom, and 4 and 6 bring left and right, respectively. So as I said, I use the button or the key that's to the left-hand side of the number 1 on your keyboard. I have no idea what that key's called. I might put it in post. I'll put it on in a bit of text, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to be working on a 2x2 grid. This works for Unreal Engine and it works for Unity. The only difference is kind of your scaling or for your export, but we'll just work with Unreal Engine at the minute because an awful lot of people do tend to work with that. The principles are all the same. It's not going to really make too much of a difference. So first and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to build very basic PCs. These are going to be great for blockout. They're going to be great for just modular building inside the engine. And everything I have built and I tend to build is on a 1 meter grid. I find that to be the most important and the easiest to work with. So 1 meter. And I scale it up from there. So say we have a 1 meter by 4 meter wall. We have a 2 meter by 2 meter corner. We have a 2 meter by 4 meter window wall. We have a 2 by 4 standard wall and a 4 by 4 standard wall. And we also have our 2 by 4 door. Now, if you're wondering why I'm using 4 meters, is because when you're in the engine, it does tend to, you have to scale up a little bit better. You don't have the field of view. There's loads of videos out there by it, but just believe me, 4 meters is a good roof height. And I can show you in the engine itself what these look like and what it looks like when you're playing. So I think 4 meters is good. It gives you a good bit of height. You can always play around with it. Remember, if you're making modular, you can always make them larger, or you can make them smaller. You can scale them in and out in the engine. So to get started, what we're going to do is we are just going to go to the front view. We're going to make them 10 centimeters thick. There is a thickness to these walls. You don't have to have a thickness. It does depend. If you're inside a building, they do recommend that you do have a bit of thickness, especially for Unreal. In the EU or EA documentation, it says that they should be 10 centimeters thick. It just prevents the light leakage. There's videos on that as well. I won't cover that here. If you want to make them without thickness and a single plane, you can definitely do that. Don't really worry about it too much. Your vertex count in this is very, very low, and it's not gonna put a drag on your engine. Your textures and stuff will, but the vertex count on this will not. So I'm gonna put them just for the sake of it, just for the ease of it, with the depth of 10 centimeters. Also does help, believe me, when you're trying to place them in the engine. So jump right in here now. What we're going to do is I have this little body model here, just a low poly body model. You can find them online pretty easy. We're going to add a cube. So that is Shift A. We're going to jump in. We're going to add a cube. Oh, yours is going to look like this. So let's keep it to this. Another thing, just to double check, we're going to go up here to the very top and we're going to make sure that this snapping is on, the magnet is on. We're going to make sure that this says increment as well. And this is going to make sure that we are working to our grid. Another quick setting, I suppose, to check is down here. Yeah, that's where it is. So sorry about that. So in scene settings, we're just going to come down here. Once we make sure that we have the increment snapping on, we're going to come down here into scene and go into scene settings. We're going to make sure that our units are set as well. Again, some people know this, but this is just for a very basic one. So you're going to make sure that you're using the metric system for the unit system and a unit scale of 1. This is going to make sure that everything works with Unreal. They use the metric system. They work on the meter in Unreal. So it's vital that we have this set up. Okay. So once you've done that, we can come in here. It's going to be very straightforward. We're going to, again, just to run over that, we're going to Shift A is going to bring up our add menu. We're going to add a cube. We're going to press G to move it and Z to bring it up onto the Z axis. We're then going to press Control A and press all transformations. And what this is going to do is when we scale or anything like that, it'll work properly. Then I like to go into top view. And what we're going to do is we're just going to get our depth. So we're going to press Tab then to go into edit mode. We're going to come up here to the right hand side and we're just going to make sure that we have this like an X-ray vision, and that way when we go like this, we can select all the sides. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring this on the Y to make sure everything's snapped. So make sure you drag there, G and then Y. Perfect. You see, so now we have our wall. We're going to come down here to front, and then what we're going to do is we're going to grab this top layer, and we're going to press G and Z to bring it up, and there you go. 4 meters. So we know if we come out and press N, here we go. Here's our dimensions. Now we could just tap this into the dimensions as well, but we're just going to go through a little bit of modeling. So we have 2, 1, and 4 meters. Awesome. And there you go. There's our first wall. So what we're going to do is we just need to make sure that we set the rotation point, which is very vital, and it's going to save us an awful lot of hardship in Unreal. We're just going to press select the object in object mode or edited mode, makes no difference. We're going to select it. We're going to press G and X to move it along the X axis. And we're just going to move it down until it's there. And we know then that its location is 0, 0, 0, and 1. It's going to say 1 because we did bring it up. I'm going to go back to the front. So what we're going to do now is once we have it in position, and as you'll see that I'm using the back corner on the point of the world cursor. What we're going to do is when we have that moved, we're just going to press Control A. And that's going to bring up our apply menu. We're just going to click all transitions. And that's going to lock the rotation point. So when we bring this into the engine, once we have our export settings and everything done, we can then, it'll rotate from this angle. Sorry, I might not be great at this. I don't normally do tutorials, but I hope everybody's getting the gist. So what we're going to do is, this is going to be our base model. Super straightforward. Super duper straightforward. Oh, I just realized, by the way, just in case, to go back over that little bit again, move my head out of the way. It's in here, because just in case my webcam was covering it, for your scene settings, your metrics. If you go to scene here, go to units, metric 1, has to be 1, okay? I'm just sorry if my webcam was maybe blocking that a little bit. Apologies about that. So we have our 2 meter by 2 meter wall, and what we're going to do is we're going to name that. So we're going to press F2, and then any sort of there's naming conventions. Listen, I'm not going to get into that either. It's not really necessary. Like you'll find your own way of doing it. You could do like SM for static mesh, 2 by 2, whatever you want. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep this, and then we're going to press Shift and D, and we're going to duplicate this now, right? So this is finished. This is finished. This is not going anywhere now. Like that's your first 2x4 modular wall. What we're going to do then is in here is we're going to make this a 4 meter wall. So we're going to come in, press tab to edit. We're going to grab this, and then we're just going to drag it out. So by pressing by making sure that we've selected the right-hand side. We're going to press G, we're going to press X to drag, then we're going to drag it over, and as you can actually see up at the top of the screen there, it says D 2 meters. We have moved that a further 2 meters along the line. That's all we've done. And so if I press there and come out of editing mode, I'll turn off X-ray for a minute so you can see. There we go. There's our 4 meter wall. I'm going to get into a little bit of UV unwrapping. We'll make the things, and then we'll go back into the UV unwrapping, okay? So, because there's a wee bit of explaining on that. So we'll just make the assets first, and then we'll do the UV unwrapping. So all transformations, which again, Control A, all transforms, and that's our 4 meter wall. So that's 4x4. So 4x4, done. Then we're gonna again press that button, come into front. We're going to move this out of the way. So we're going to move this again along the x-axis and just keep that out to the side. Now, what else do we need to do? We need to do, I find the 1 meter by 1 meter wall pretty easy as well. I find it quite handy. So we'll come over to our 2 meter by 2 meter. We'll shift D to duplicate, move it along the x-axis. And what we can do here now is rather than try and line it up with the world cursor, by the way, if you've moved the world cursor, so say if you're like, oh no, feck it, I've moved the world cursor point, and how do I transform it? If you press Shift and S, it'll bring up this menu, and then cursor to world origin, and it resets to that point. When we're, oh, there we go, you see, it does happen. So if you have done that, that resets it. But to move these into place when we are making modular assets, to make sure that every single thing is the same, rather than move it into place, which does work and can work, and it's not a problem, it is just easier sometimes because we're duplicating from something that has its location, rotation, and scale all preset. We can just click on that, right click on it, and where we come down to snap, we can say selection to cursor, and that will bring it directly to the point. So that means every single piece is going to be the very same. So it just saves if you're out a centimeter or something, or you effect it up some way, it kind of avoids an awful lot of that. And it just means that every single location stays the same. Very handy, very important. So we're going to come in, we're going to, again, go to front view. And all we're going to do is, there's two ways of doing it, I suppose. With X-ray mode on, make sure X-ray mode is on. We can either drag this, so by selecting just the sides, and we can drag it in. And if we look up at the top, it says -1 meter. So we know for a fact that we're staying in those whole numbers. We're not moving into the decimals. And we can move it in there like that, and that's it. We have a 1 meter by 4 meter wall piece. It's perfect. Not a problem by it. Or you can come in and maybe do, not that. You can come in and you can maybe do like this, but this is, which is like a loop cut. You can loop cut with Control R. But to be honest with you, it's probably less reliable just in case you off place the loop cut. With this way, you can guarantee that you've moved it in by a meter by looking at the top. It says -1. Can't go wrong with that. When you're moving stuff, it is important that when you've pressed the G to press with modular walls and stuff, it's important if you do press G to press X or Y or Z or whichever angle you want to move it on. Otherwise, you could get slight shifting. It's less probable in the isometric view like this, but it's not, or in the plan view, but it's not impossible. So just keep that in mind. So once we've pressed G, we can press X to make sure that we're locked in. We can come in. We can see that it says -1 meter. Click. Come out. Apply all transforms. Done. There's our 1 meter by 1, or 1 meter by 4 meter. So 1 by 4. There we go. Sorted. Come into the front again. We're just going to move that to the side. There we go. So another one that we want to do then is probably a corner piece. Corner pieces are just a nightmare in general. I'm actually going to see if I don't know where the cursor is for that. We'll just come into top and drag it in. Corner pieces are a bit of a nightmare, and this was something that I had a problem with for a long time. As you can see, this is the key part to corner pieces, right? This is the key issue. When you have a corner piece, you have whole numbers on the outside. So say that outside wall is 2 meters, and this outside wall is 2 meters, but the inside walls are not 2 meters. It's 1.9, like because you have to take the depth of the wall into consideration. So that's 1.9, 1.9. But the outside is 2 meters by 2 meters. I'm going to make it like this. This will work. And near in the end, I'll show you exactly why, how, and everything like that is built like this. So don't worry about it. What we're going to do is we're just going to make it so that it's 2 meters by 2 meters. We can make a 1 meter by 1 meter version as well, but not worrying so much about the internal dimension, only really worrying about the external dimension, okay? So we're going to move that out of the way and we'll come in. So what we're going to need is we're going to need 2 of our 2 meter walls. So we're going to grab the one that we have finished. We're going to Shift D, we're going to move it over, and then we're going to snap to the cursor. This is our first one. We're going to come into the top view, which is if you press 8 on your keypad, brings you up into the top view. And then we're going to press Shift D on this one again. And we're just going to move it out a little bit on the Y-axis, okay? Then what we're going to do is we will need to bring that down here, actually. Sorry, we're going to bring that down to here. Then we're going to rotate this one at 90 degrees. So we're going to press R, Z, and 90, or minus 90. I actually... Blender's rotation is sometimes... Oh, no, it was a grand. It was grand. Oh, sorry, it was minus... Or it was 90. So R, Z, and 90. We're just going to move this down then. Now, as you can see, we have an overlap. So this is what our shape is going to be like, but we do have this overlap. It's not an issue. It's not going to be difficult to resolve. So we're just going to make sure that both of our pieces are linked to this line. We can see here that we're on our line. This is on our line. All I've done is just rotated this, and there is a slight overlap. So whilst they're still single, they're not joined pieces. We couldn't edit the both at the same time. They're 2 independent pieces. What we're going to do is we're just going to press and enter into editing 1. And once we've entered into editing 1, and again, with our X-ray on, we're just going to select. I'm always in edge select. I rarely move from edge select. So in edge select, we're just going to drag over this, and we're going to come down here to the left-hand side to this shear tool. And the shear tool is just super handy because this is what's going to allow us to twist and deform the edges to create that corner. And that way we can seamlessly tie up these 2 corners. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and once we've selected our edge and we've selected shear tool, we're going to grab this one. This works basically by either dragging it that way or, well, that doesn't work because it's not on that one, but we're going to drag it this way. So, and if you look down here on the bottom left-hand side, there's this offset number. So we know for a fact that we need to, this is 10 meters or 10 centimeters wide, and this is 10 centimeters wide, and we need to literally just divide it in half. So we know that there's not going to be really too much funny business. We just need to bring this down here. And you're going to be looking and going, oh, but sure, how am I going to know, like, you know, how am I going to know what the angle is? Pretty simple. See if it says minus and it's close to 1, do -1. And there you go. There's a 45-degree cut. If it says like 0.6 something and you know that you're heading in the right direction, do 1. Sometimes you'll do 2, but whatever it is, round it up to the nearest round number, and you really should have your degree perfect for cutting. So with this then, you'll be looking and going, okay, well, we have this. What do we do now? It is sheared. We've got -1. It's sheared. Grand. No bothers. So we're just going to go back to the select box so we can get rid of the shear. We don't need that again. And whilst we have this still selected, even if not, if you deselect it, oh God, I've deselected it, you can select it again. We're just going to select all those faces, and we're going to press G and Y, and we're just going to drag it down. And like you see up at the top of the screen, it's dragging it by 1 centimeter increments. And this allows us to look and go, okay, well, boom, there you go. I'm now down at the cursor. So by, what is it, 0.05. So 5 centimeters, I've moved that down. And that's given me this perfect 45-degree cut on the wall. And there you go. If I come all the way down to the bottom of this wall, and yep, it is exactly at the 2 meter mark. Nothing's changed about the wall. Just put in this cut. So what we're going to do is we're going to tab out. We're going to tab into the next one for editing. And we're going to come in. We're going to select this wall. And we're going to do the very same. We're going to select this face on the wall. We're going to click shear. We're going to drag this bad boy up. Yep, kind of right. And then we're going to look down here and, yep, 0.981. So we know for a fact that for that to be perfect, it's going to be 1. We're going to press 1. And then we're going to you don't need to get rid of the shear box. I'm just doing this for the sake of the tutorial. Then whilst this is still selected, or God forbid it's not, and you reselect it, You press G, you press X, and then boom, boom, boom. There we go. And it's moved by 5. I don't know if you can see that. Move, yeah, there. Moved 5 centimeters back. So what this has allowed us to do is, without actually altering the wall in any way, shape, or form, we now have this. We have these two lovely wall pieces with nice 45-degree cuts. And then all we need to do is we need to get this one and that one. It makes absolutely no difference which one you click here for the order. And then we're going to press Control J. And this joins those two walls together so that now when we click Tab, we can now go in and edit them. Now, as you know, if I click here and I just select all, they're not attached. So it's not really too much of an issue. We can just go into 1 or 2 or whatever. I think 1 is probably the best for what we're going to do. 1, by the way, being vertex, 2 for edge, and 3 for face. So whilst in edit mode, we're going to select these vertices, the ones that we want to join together. We're going to press M, and we're going to go by distance. And we should have 4. Yep, there we go. 4 merged. So what that's done is that's removed 4 vertices. And that's exactly what we want. Now what we can do is it may leave these faces on the inside. So whilst in X-ray mode and whilst this is still selected, or even if it's not, you can go in and reselect it. You just want to press 3. And if you see this dot in X-ray mode, it means that there's walls inside the geometry. And we don't need that. We don't need to be drawing those walls in. So all you need to do is just press 3 and press X then. Actually, I'll do that a wee bit slower just in case. Whilst we have that there, you can even see it. Like, you can kind of see it there. I know sometimes Blender's not great on the computer, but or when you're watching YouTube for these vertex dots. But what you can do is you can just go in and you can see when you select that area that there's a hidden face inside that wall. We don't need it. We don't want it. Get rid of it. So we just press X, which brings up your delete menu, and you can just press delete for the faces. And there you go. That's it. So there's our 2-meter corner. Now, what we just need to guarantee is that everything's okay. Yep, so it's not out the bounds there. It's not out the bounds there. Up at the top, we know for a fact that our exterior corner of the corner is at the center point. Because we haven't really moved anything. Everything's locked to its location. And we've got our cut here. It's at 2 meters and it's at 2 meters. So all I need to do now is come out of that, come out of editing, go into object mode. And then I'm going to press Control A and all transformations, or all transforms, whatever the heck it is. And this allows me then to have my pivot there, everything's set up. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move. By the way, if you're in this kind of planner perspective view, it does not move anything off the grid. It stays on the grid. So like you can move the X and the Y for an object, but it cannot change the Z. If I come to the front mode, you can move on the X axis and the Z axis, but not the Y axis. So it's kind of handy for moving stuff around. If I was in the other mode and I tried to move something around, and let's just have a wee look where that is. Yeah, you see what I mean? It moves all over the shop. So we don't need that. That's why this mode is just so handy. So now we have our 2x2 corner. So we're just going to name that there 2x2 corner. Started, and then we're going to do we could do a 1x1 corner if you wanted. I'll do it just for the sake of the video, sure. I'm gonna get our corner, I'm gonna move it over, snap to cursor, so we know. Actually, just move this bad boy out of the way so we've got a wee bit of breathing room. We're gonna come into our 2x2 duplicate corner, make sure it's duplicated whatever you do, and actually we'll stay at the top. We'll come in, we'll go to edit, and then we'll move. We'll just select the edges, pressing G and then X, and we'll bring that to the 1 meter line. I actually probably would have said there as well. Go back a few steps, just double check. So G, X, and move. And as you can see on the top there, it says -1 meter. So we know we're down a meter. And do the same with this G and then Y then to move it along the Y axis. And again, it had said that we moved it 1 meter on the Y axis. And the main part is that the external corners are 1 meter by 1 meter. And so there you go. So we come out with that. We're going to press Control A, all transforms, and then name it 1x4. Sorry, I keep naming things 2x2, but 1x4 corner. Sorted. So we'll just come out and we'll move that out the way as well. And we get onto the doors because what am I sitting at? 25 minutes. Okay, cool. I don't want this to be a long one. So we're going to get our 2x2 piece again. Going to copy our Shift and D to duplicate it. We're going to right click and we're going to snap it to the cursor. This is a duplicate, remember? And what we're going to do is we're going to build a door. Now, with doors, there's a whole history on doors in video games. Basically, you want to go a little bit larger. You need it for the perspective of the camera and for the actual object camera movement and for a bit of comfort, okay? Now, what I've gone for here and that I find quite nice is, as you can see, it's 2 meters or 2.2 meters tall by, I think it's 1.2 wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. 1.2 wide. And once I set a door frame and everything in there, it gives me enough movement. I personally like it. You can go larger. I probably wouldn't recommend you going any smaller. It seems ridiculous, but there's some great videos out there. Look up video game doors. Look at those videos, and they explain quite well. It's the one thing that can't really be realistically mimicked too well in the video game. They do have to be that little bit larger just for it to look right. Otherwise, it really does look ridiculous. So this is what we're going to do. Now, there's a couple of different ways you could do this. You could do a Boolean cut, which is where we make the shape of the door and we cut it in. But the way I like doing it is pretty simple. I'm going to get our piece, and instead of it being snapped to the cursor, and whilst in this view, the front view, so 7 on your number pad, and in this or what is it? Orthographic. Sorry, not plan view, orthographic. And whilst in this front-facing orthographic view, we're just going to press G, and we're going to move it over 1 meter. So there we go, 1 meter, minus 1 meter. And I'll show you why, right? Because this is just to make sure that there's not going to be any errors, and it's a really easy way to edit. Once we have it in the editing mode, we're going to come in, we're going to press Control R, and we're going to do a loop cut right down the middle. Now, once you've pressed in, you don't need to press anything else. You can press the right button, and that locks that dead in the middle. And the reasons for that is just to make sure that my dimensions and everything are okay. And I'm going to delete this and I'm going to use a mirror modifier. You don't have to use a mirror modifier. You could do a normal one, but I personally like using the mirror modifiers. I just find it easier. So I'm going to do another loop cut here. And I'm actually coming in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So whilst the loop cut is selected, we're going to move it over 1 more, and that gives us, because remember, it's mirrored. So I've 0.6 meters here, which will equate to 1.2. And then what I want to do is I want to come in, Control R, another loop cut, and we're going to come up 2 on the 2 meter mark. And then this item here, these faces, I'm going to get rid of. Get rid of these faces. And then I'm going to come down into my settings, move my big fat head out the way again. I'm going to come into settings. I'm going to generate a quick mirror modifier, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, sure. Jesus. And this is where Jack made a mistake already. So basically what's happened here is, this will happen loads, by the way, okay? So if you have gone and you've moved something, and like there's my cursor, and I want it to be replicated on the x-axis, and it has done that, except it has done that on the wrong side. I don't want it on that side. What I'm going to do, I'm just come out of there. I'm going to make sure that my item is placed where I want it to be, but I need my point of rotation and everything back to the center of the object. So I'm just going to come back into object mode, Control A, all transforms, come back into editing, and then when I generate a mirror modifier, there we go, you see, because it's mimicking whatever's on this side based on this, like your world origin. And so there we go, that's our door. Now, all we need to just be careful of is, obviously, because we have deleted these faces, we will need to put a little bit of geometry in here. Now, I'm going to turn off the X-ray for this, just to give you a better idea what that looks like. If you're wondering why I can see it red, the gray is the rendered face of the object, and the red then is the back of the face. So this can't be rendered, and this would be see-through. So as when you're modeling, it's really good to make sure you come in here to your little viewport overlays, come down here and face orientation, and it just shows you what is the back and what is the front of your model. So I think it's really handy. Make sure that you don't have any backs or anything like that where they shouldn't be. So we can do this now, and we can actually apply the modifier because it's not going to make too much of a difference. And we're just going to come in, press 1 for our vertex mode. We're going to select this little dude and that little dude. We're going to press F. And actually, we can just continue to press F. And as you can see, it will fill up all these holes. Just need to come over here and fill this one up. And then that is our door. So this is a really good size of door. I'll show you in the engine, but I think this is a really good size door. So we're just going to press A to select all and M just to make sure that we don't have any weird little vertices running around the shop. So we know for a fact that on the front view, everything's good. It's 2 meters by, 2 meters wide, a meter on each side. And we're just going to jump up to the top to make sure that, that we're on this line, which is fantastic. But we do need to move it that we have a corner pivot, because remember, that's very important that we have these corner pivots. And so when we've selected the whole item, we press G, we press X, and we drag over to make sure that it's snapped. We can see, again, we've moved it 1 meter. We know our entire wall is 2 meters, so the 1 meter does it perfect. We just select. There we go. So when we come out into object mode, we press Control A, all transforms, and there you have it. In 32 minutes, you have a full working modular set of models. This is what this video is about. I will do videos on UV unwrapping and everything. The sole purpose of this is to give you an idea of modular assets. It's not to go into UV unwrapping or texturing or anything like this. I will briefly touch on that for you just now, okay? What I've done in here is, this is my game file, but just for the purpose of the tutorial, this is Unreal Engine, and these are the very same pieces that I just made there, but that I'm using for my own game engine, or my own game instance. So when you're, exporting, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, apologies. Come back, and for a quick cover on exporting, when you have your item and you want to export it into Unreal Engine, there's 1 or 2 wee things you want to do. Oh, let's get rid of that there. You want to make sure that these are snapped to the world origin point. So again, click them. When you're ready to export them, click them, snap them, and selection to cursor. Okay. Now what you can do is, with your item selected, you can right click and shade auto smooth. It is a wee bit better for the engine. And just come over here and apply that then in your settings. Okay. It's not major. What we're going to do then is we're going to come to File, going to export, FBX. This is for the toilet that I was doing earlier. We'll just do it. We test. We'll come in here, right? YouTube, and we will say, what are we doing? This 2x4 meter wall YouTube. Your settings over here are really, really important for Unreal Engine, and this will be quite vital for you to make sure that all your settings and everything are in the right place. So super simple. You want to make sure that you limit it to selected objects. We know for a fact that this is the only item that we have selected. So limit it to selected objects. Come down here then, scale 1. We already set the scale up earlier. We want to make sure that our apply scalings it'll be default set to all local. Make sure that it's you come in and change it to FBX all. Then your forward, I think it's default set to -Y forward. So make sure you come in and set it to Y forward. And then that will automatically change this to Z up. Because the Unreal Engine gimbal, like their X and Y and stuff, is a little bit different than Blender. It can also be different to other modeling softwares, but these are the export settings. Then what you want to do is you want to make sure you come down to geometry, and in smoothing, it's by default set to normals only. You just want to come in and make sure that you have smoothing groups selected. Okie doke, and we'll just export that. Now, then actually, do you know what? I'll actually import that in just to give you a quick idea. So when you want to import something in, you can click and drag, which is what I'm going to do because I don't feel like editing out my all my files for this video. So I'm just going to drop this in if I can find out where the hell I put it. There we are. So just make sure that there's nothing that can dox me on this. So basically, yeah, like when you have your file, wherever you've sent it or saved it, you can just click it, drag it, and drop it in. I'll just get rid of this window then. You'll get import content. Your import browser might be a little bit different depending on what model of the engine you're using. I think this is one of the later models of the engine, but all the settings are kind of the same. I don't normally change anything with this, but because I have materials that I make myself, and I don't really want a base material or anything, I just come to the materials and untick the materials, and I untick textures. If you've got textures you're importing from Blender, you can ignore all this, but this is just what I do to make sure that I can get it in. And it'll say import done. Sometimes you might get a little issue there where it says there was issues with your import, and it says about smoothing errors or smoothing groups. Just remember that when we came in here and we went to export and we came down to geometry, just make sure that smoothing groups is selected, okay? And that should solve that issue with you. So now we have our, oh, it was the door that I imported. Oh, there we go. So we know we have the door. There's the door. We're just going to click and drag that in, and we can see that that is our point of rotation. And we're just going to make sure that we have snapping turned on. Make sure your snapping is turned on. Very easy to not have that turned on. And I think I may have an issue now because I imported those two without snapping turned on. Oh, no issue on this one, yeah, just because second there. It's just because when you drag them in and you don't have your snapping turned on, it can import them 6 ways from Sunday, like. So we're just going to come in, line it up a little bit. And it should work. Maybe because I didn't have this snapped on. This does work, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Yeah, so it's just because if you bring something in and you don't have your grid turned on, it can land anywhere in the grid. If you have your grid turned on and you bring something in, it can be an issue if you are modeling and you're like, oh, why isn't this lining up? Just make sure that when you brought it into the scene that your grid snap was turned on. So as we can see there, like, there we go. This is effectively going to be your modular assets. Like, this is what you're going to work with in the game. So a little bit of snapping with walls and stuff like this probably is a wee bit easier actually to snap to maybe a slightly larger number. If you're wondering, by the way, in Unreal Engine is W for move, E for rotate, and R for scale, just in case you are wondering. And because sometimes those little things can be super helpful. Yeah, you can see that there's that a slight overlap on that. Drop that down to 5. There can be a wee bit of fiddling around with it. It's not like it's perfect in the way that it actually works, but there can be a wee bit of fiddling just to make sure all the positioning and everything is correct. What I'm going to go over in the next video, because I'm now clipping 40 minutes and I didn't really want this to be too long, is our UV untiling there. And just to give you an example of that really quick, this is a door that has been UV unwrapped in Blender. And you can just see that the tile unwrapping is not proportional. So although that is our modular asset, and this is exactly how you'll do it, the only thing missing is UV unwrapping. It just goes to show, you know, everything snaps together. You'll build all your buildings like this, but it's just not unwrapped. Another quick one, just I suppose while we're at it, you could talk for hours on this subject, I guess, but why we build them like this is because you need to apply a texture to it, right? And if you're worried, oh, well, how am I going to build a hall? Do I just come out here now and say, okay, well, there is my hall, for talk's sake? Yes and no, okay? Something to really consider when you're building your environment is how you're going to texture everything. So if I wanted, if you want the interior color to be the same as the exterior color, perfect. You only need a single wall. That's grand. If you want it to be dual colored, so you want say the hall to have one color and the room to have a different color, well, then you would need to take that into consideration, and you do need to kind of double up your walls like this. I'll bring that right in. You can have it as wherever you want it, but you have to have 2 layers. Just drop a material on that just to show you. So many materials. We'll throw a brick on it. There we go. So say that's our inside or outside, and then we'll throw a paint or something on it on the inside. There we go. Okay, doke. So that'll just go to show you what you may or may not need. It's all kind of case specific, okay? If you were happy just doing internal walls, like say if you were doing something like the back rooms or something, that'd be grand. Like that's perfect. It's the same texture on both sides. If you're wanting different textures, you need two different walls. There's ways to paint it and everything like that. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but there are ways to do it. I'm just saying I model like this, and I found this to be very handy. If I want to do a hall, I can paint my hall one color, my rooms another color. Just show you quickly on a level. Oh, that was close. I nearly oversaved over my feckin' main game file. So this is just a quick look at my the way I've utilized this. You can see by the walls, I have used let's use the bathrooms for talk's sake. I have wallpaper on the bedrooms using the modular wall assets, and then on the outside I've used paint. So I have two different textures. It's very quick. It's very easy. You kind of model like this. If it's not going to be perfect, and believe me, it doesn't need to be perfect, you can always scale, you can overlap, you can twist, you can turn, you can bend it, you can do whatever the heck you want with these walls. But the modularity just allows you to quickly create the environments. You do not need to stick to it. You can twist and shape them whichever way you want. It makes no difference. Nobody's going to fucking see it. They'll only see what's in the inside and finished. Okay, so keep that in mind. Don't be panicking about it. It's very important that you don't get caught up in it. You just will not be able to do it perfect for the sole purpose of the inside diameter of your wall, of your corners, is 1.9, which will kick you off by 0.10 no matter where you go, no matter what you do. Okay, so don't worry about it. In my opinion, with the modularity, for the hundreds of hours now I've been stuck in this situation or this issue, this is the best way to go about it. Okay, and you can see it here now in action. I think it looks pretty good. And yeah, so there you go, lads. Thank you so much. That was all I wanted to cover. I will do one on UV unwrapping, and I will do something on making a trim sheet, UV unwrapping, and texturing in Unreal Engine to make sure that you get the most bang for your buck. Okay, but that is, in my opinion, a good summary of modular assets in Blender, exporting, and all the way to Unreal. So listen, guys, if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and driver on.